Welcome to On the Record, powered by Leaders Lead Network. I am Tony Taylor, and this platform exists for one reason. That's you, the voter. Every election, we're asked to choose the people who will make decisions that affect our families, our communities, our schools, our businesses, and our public safety. Yet, too often, we make those decisions based on campaign ads, mailers, silly sound bites, headlines. I kind of like the sound bites though, but I wanted to create something different. On the Record is a place where candidates actually step away from the campaign slogans and have real long form conversations about who they are, what they believe, and how they intend to lead if elected. My commitment is simple. Every candidate is treated with respect. Every candidate is given the opportunity to answer meaningful questions, and every voter deserves the information that they need to make an informed decision. Whether you're voting for sheriff, city council, school board, commissioner, state representative, state senator, Congress, or any other elected office, my hope is that these conversations will help you better understand the people that are asking for your vote. So as you watch, I encourage you to take notes, compare the candidates' answers, and remember that every candidate has agreed to sit down for a real conversation, because informed voters build strong communities. Now we are on the record. Hey, what's up? I'm Tony Taylor. Are you here for Leaders Lead the podcast? Let's go. Hey, how did you beat me? Look, let me tell you about this podcast. We got like 5 seconds. Leaders Lead the podcast is about leadership. Not just the leader without, but the leader within. All of these leaders that I'm talking to across the country, across the world now, they have one thing in common, and that's that they have overcome some insurmountable obstacles to get to where they're at today. Come on, let's go. All right, before we meet today's guest, I'd like you to know that every candidate on the ballot for Thurston County Sheriff has been offered the same opportunity to participate in On the Record. Our mission is not to tell you who to vote for. Our mission is to give you the information that you need to make an informed decision by yourself. Before we get started, can you tell us a little bit about yourself beyond the campaign? Who are you?
Well, absolutely. I think first, I'm just like many of us, which, I'm a son. My mother moved to the area from our childhood home in California. Once we settled down here, I'm a husband. My wife is a small business owner and works in the community as well. I'm a father. I have 2 adult children who like to tell me they're not kids anymore. So they're my adult children. My daughter, has a heart and is going to social work, going to college up in Bellingham. My son followed my footsteps of service and is now a special warfare reconnaissance operator in the Air Force. And so first, that's me as a human being. And then professionally, I was a soldier since I was 17 years old, retired after 20 years in the military, and been with the sheriff's office in different capacities since 2014, continuing kind of that heart of service. And that's kind of what I'd like to continue to do throughout this campaign and throughout the rest of my career, and if the citizens entrust me with the awesome, authority and trust that comes along with being elected as their sheriff for Thurston County, that would be amazing. But either way, I'm not going away. I'm going to keep coming each and every day and putting my best foot forward.
Wow. So you've been serving since you were 17. That's incredible, man.
I have. Yes. I enlisted in the Army in March of 2001. And after basic training and advanced individual training, I on a bus to Fort Leonard Wood and felt the impacts of what happened on September 11th, 2001, and the transition of a peacetime military into one that's at war footing. So
that's interesting. 2001, I also was in boot camp for the Marine Corps, and September 11th happened when I was in the Marine Corps. I joined because I'm like, oh man, this is peacetime. There's not going to be any war. And then oh man, I'm curious, when people that actually know you best describe you, what do they say?
Wow. I think consistent throughout my time, either in the military or even my peers here in my current profession, the sheriff's office, or my family. Sometimes, and I think they tease me a little bit, they say I can get bogged down in some of the boring things, such as the bylaws or the policies or, governance types, things like that. And I have to admit, I do enjoy that. I enjoy processes and systems that can really equate to a human effect at the end. So, and I think the other thing is they often say I do too much, and I acknowledge that. And it's something I think I'm a recovering workaholic, as they say. So,
Oh man, I wish. Hey, that's good, man. I wish I can say recovering.
well, I think it's a journey, right? That's what recovery
Yeah.
is. It's a journey. So you got.
Yeah, that's funny, man. I got a talking to by my wife and my daughter freaking the other day, and actually quite often. So it's good to know I'm in good company. I'm curious, man. What was the defining moment that made you say, you know what, I'm gonna run for sheriff?
Well, I don't know if it was a specific moment, more so as kind of just looking back over the history of the agency, looking at where the profession of law enforcement is in our country. I think there's a lot of things both that have come to the profession since, I'm going to go all the way back to the, 1800s to, 2021, to major events, the situations in LA in the 80s, and the idea that there's communities that can really trust their local law enforcement and some that find it occasionally difficult. And I think that my focus on building systemic processes and trying to open up some of these agencies and government institutions that we don't teach a lot about in school anymore. We don't teach civics nearly as much as we used to. We don't talk about, I embarrass my kids because I played them the Schoolhouse Rock. I'm just a bill. We had to teach that stuff at our house because they didn't do it at school anymore. And I think that the public needs to be brought into these institutions because our government is made of the people. The authority comes from the people, and it needs to be shown to them in such a light that it's beyond just a curated narrative. And so I felt like there was a time, a place right now that we have the ability to take an upward trajectory towards building an institution that can outlive any personality or any person, including myself, that could potentially ever hold that office.
Yeah. What is it like? What is it like? I'm curious because you actually work for the Thurston County Sheriff Department right now, correct?
I do. I started in 2014 and I volunteered for about 6 years. I gave the county about 2,000 or 3,000 hours of my personal time when I was still on active duty as a Washington State certified reserve police officer. So I went to a state certified academy. And then once I got done with that, I was commissioned as a sheriff's deputy. And after about a year of training with full-time deputies, I was answering calls for service by myself, going out there, doing the work, being in the community, and doing that without the expectation of a paycheck, I think brought a special connection, at least for me, with the people that I interacted with, because it was literally neighbors helping neighbors. It was a situation where I may not live right next door to you. Our kids may not play ball in the front yard, but I still live in this county, and I genuinely care about the outcome of your situation, of your of whatever's going on at that moment. And so, so it transitioned when I retired from the military into a full-time job. I got, applications out at other places, but I kept telling folks, I already live here. I work here. This is my home. This is my law enforcement home. This is my home that I raised my children in, things like that. And I've said it once, I've said it 100 times. I didn't want to be a cop bad enough to be a cop anywhere else. I wanted to help my neighbors. So, in going full time with the sheriff's office, I was a patrol deputy. I've held a couple different roles as a field training officer, things like that. And now I'm a special victims detective. And I would say one of the most challenging positions that I've held thus far. And I'm learning every day. Still stuff I have no idea what's going on and how things happen in the world. But I can say that if I successfully learn something each and every day, that's a good day.
Wow. So it sounds like you're working. Sounds like you. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it sounds like you're working quite a bit and campaigning. Did I get that right?
Yes, it's a full-time job, doing both. Uh, not to mention, the community obligations that I have. I volunteer with the Lions Club, and I'm a member of the VFW and the Legion, the American Legion, things like that. So I try to still stay engaged, because that sense of service that I got from doing the reserve deputy stuff and volunteering in my community is still huge in my heart. It really is cathartic for me and fills me back up. I used to drive my kids nuts because we'd go pick up trash alongside the road when they were off school and stuff like that. And I had to try to make it entertaining once or twice. And I got a little scale and I could weigh how much trash they'd picked up. So they had, bragging rights. But I get teased because, I'm that guy. So.
Oh man, that's awesome. I think that says a lot about you when it comes to character. That's pretty cool. I just imagined you on the side of the road with your kids, freaking weighing the trash. Has there anything surprised you when it came to campaigning? Because I think this is the first time you've ever run for office, right?
It is. I absolutely was surprised by, I think, multiple things. One is kind of the lack of any education on how to do any of this stuff. We talk about wanting people to get more engaged civically. It kind of reminds me of the push to get out the vote. We talk about it each and every year, but what are we out doing? And throughout campaigning and door knocking and stuff like that, I think I commend those that volunteer their time to get out there and remind people to be engaged, to get out there and teach people. I had a conversation. So I got a master's degree in public administration from Evergreen, and in talking with one of their trustees about that program, it talks about, their program focuses primarily on like the bureaucracy, right? Of how you as an employee will continue to do what's best for the institution, the organization, and administer the public trust to go through those processes. What it doesn't tell you is how to be an appointed or an elected leader. It doesn't really, there's not those conversations on how to campaign and stuff like that. And so there's a real void out there in those things. And I think that if we want to get more and more of our population, of our community, of our neighbors involved in the conversation, people have to be brought in. It can't be an exclusive club. So.
Wow. Do you feel like that's kind of what it is today? Kind of like this exclusive club?
Well, I think that, and again, I don't want to use the word exclusive club as kind of a way to say that the individuals that hold office are in any way, shape, or form insincere or not helpful. Opposite. Wildly sincere, amazingly helpful. Just there's no institutional program per se. There's no, hey, come to these classes and this is kind of what you need to learn. No formal format on getting folks engaged. And I think that as a space out there that's needed for local politics, that's something that I think we need to engage our youth and all members of our community.
I agree. I agree with that. I remember somebody asked me, is there like how do I run for office? Because they were like just riled up. Because I'm like, well, why don't you just do something about it, bro? It's like, how do I do it? And I'm just like, I could text a couple people. There's not like this this class that you go to that teach you how to do it. So yeah, I'm glad that you said that, because it's almost like you got to pick this stuff up on the fly, and you're like, oh, am I supposed to do that? Or, you're worried about different campaign violations and all of that stuff. I bet you that could kind of wear on you a little bit. Let's do a quick lightning round. Thurston County lightning round. And so you could just answer it like really quickly. Favorite local restaurant?
Man, so many of them are so good, but Cascadia Grill downtown has really hit my heart. They make some great food.
Okay. Favorite place in Thurston County, period?
Man, I just had the opportunity to rappel down into Chutes Falls the other day. And that was amazingly beautiful. And so I'm gonna go with that for right now.
I love it.
I'm always learning new spots. That's the thing you should never stop doing. You live here forever and not know all the beautiful places.
Yeah, this is one of those places where you really don't. I was telling somebody this the other day, you really don't have to go out of town to be on vacation. You could just leave the house and travel about 20 minutes and you're like under a freaking waterfall, right?
Absolutely.
Are you a coffee or tea dude or energy drink?
Oh, coffee all the way, and different. I wouldn't say different flavors, but qualities for sure. If you remember back in the Marine Corps, there's that field coffee, and I think most of that you had to chew to get down. But yeah, just black coffee, no sugar, no milk, and
damn, black coffee, man.
Well, sometimes you didn't want to trust the milk in the field. Remember, it might have curdled a little bit, might have gone bad, and
mess your guts up. What about? Are you a morning person or night owl?
Morning person. Yeah, absolutely.
Favorite book?
Man, I've been rereading Leaders Eat Last as a kind of a throwback to some of the things I learned in the military. I was promoted to sergeant in the United States Army really young. I was like 20 years old. So I was responsible for people, especially on some of the trips we took, of ensuring that I couldn't go in the bar, but I had to make sure that the individuals that were in the bar came out and I got them home correctly and was responsible for all their well-being. So it was really an interesting way to grow up, essentially. And so some of those messages that Simon Sinek puts in that book, and it comes from the Marine Corps, quite a bit of it, of those concepts of, taking care of your people. And oftentimes that's as simple as being in the chow line. You get your soldiers through first, and either there'll be food there for you, or you're going to figure it out, because that's your job as an NCO. So,
wow. And I would say that I would think that kind of translates over to what you're doing now as far as leadership, huh?
Oh, absolutely. And a lot of folks say, or there's even been conversation of the transition of military skill sets into law enforcement. Law enforcement is a paramilitary organization. And what I mean by that, and it's often misunderstood, not military as in offensive or defensive or national security, any of that stuff. And even militaristic seems to have a negative tone sometimes. But paramilitary organization, it's just an organizational hierarchy of, leadership, taking care of those below to have available capacity of the individuals on the front line doing the work. And there's a chain of command and things like that. So understanding that and bringing that with me, I think has been huge. And I like to believe, and have been told by several of my folks, leadership roles that I've had in the Union, or even just having my office packed all day with people talking or asking questions, that informal leadership stuff, it continues to show regardless of an official title that you have. And I, by no means, am a unique specimen in the informal leadership. I mean, we see them in all kinds of places, in the fire service, paramedics, law enforcement, in the grocery store. Those informal hierarchies exist. And so.
What that's, oh man, thanks for answering that. What's one thing that people would never guess about you?
Well, the one thing that seems to surprise folks the most, when I show up at 6'5", 250, especially if when I was in the military, I had my soldier's uniform on, my Army uniform on, or now as a sheriff's deputy, I have my vest and all of these things, and we're talking, and it seems like so many people are surprised to find out that I'm a vegetarian. That it's such a wild thing, and you get such opposing reactions, like, no way, how do you survive? You're so big, and and then other people are
just widow up and die because you don't eat meat.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's plenty of food out there. You don't have to do, and then I think it's a gentle surprise to folks that I'm not militant about it either. If you want to eat a steak and we're out to dinner, eat a steak. That's your food, but I'm content with the food that I eat, and I'm a sucker for a cute animal, a cute puppy or something like that. And so, yeah,
wow.
That's, I think, what really surprises folks.
As as because I know when we had got on, you said that you were have been doing some door knocking, and I was going to ask you, as you've knocked on doors and talked with the residents of Thurston County, what concerns have you heard over and over again, if you've heard any concerns?
Yeah, I mean, the things that have been really brought to the conversations most of the time are the big ones, the ones that have been addressed, by our legislature already, oftentimes, or by our courts. They want to understand more about the Keep Washington Working Act, the cooperation with ICE. What does that look like in regards to local law enforcement being able to assess the actual lawful identities of federal agents, the legal authority of federal agents, and what does a local response look like to either people that are impersonating law enforcement, or what does it look like if federal agents, just like local police, didn't have lawful authority? And so those conversations, just educationally, they see things at the national and local news that isn't explained thoroughly. And while our leadership has done a great job in the legislature with the Keep Washington Working Act and some of those things, I think that like all laws and legislation, it's kind of written in that flowy, legalistic language that people either don't have time to seek out, or they want to have an honest conversation about how it impacts them and what it means. Some of the other things are like flock cameras, some of the responses to what automated license plate readers actually are, and how it exists, and why the flock camera thing kind of spun out of control, considering that automated license plate readers have been around for 25 years. And really that I think it shows how the introduction of a private corporation into a government function kind of may have shot forward a bit of problems before they were even addressed. The guardrails were even put in place. We got a little ahead of our skis in the implementation of some of these programs and systems. And then, you get down to the local level and you hear from folks that say, well, how do I know what the sheriff's office is doing? And how can I verify that the stuff that I see online is like, what was the outcome of X, Y, and Z, or where's the money going in regards to the budget, and what are the spending priorities or enforcement priorities, or how do we ensure that we have specific response when it comes time to certain emergencies, or what is law enforcement doing about the homelessness crisis is one that I had a conversation with the other day, and I said, in that conversation, just because someone's unhoused, they're still a member of this community, and we have to do a wraparound for everybody, right? Both unhoused and housed, and we have to provide those services, and give everybody the opportunity to be a member of this community. So it ranges the gambit. I mean, we have conversations about training and hiring standards and things that the legislation that could be passed maybe in the upcoming session that I've talked to some of our state house members about in regards to removing some obstacles for law enforcement to be able to do more thorough background checks. So yeah, it's I think I learned just as much as I offer when I get out there, because there's a gambit of questions ranging across the spectrum. So
sounds like you got to take your notepad when you're out there canvassing, going door to door, huh? So you can write some of this stuff down.
Absolutely. No, it's huge. And it helps you really develop some of the things and the perspectives and what you can bring back to the service and to law enforcement. It's interesting in talking to some of the places that have said, I'm not real comfortable around law enforcement. And I start having those conversations and they go, oh, you're one of those good cops. And I said, no, there's a whole bunch of those good cops. And I think it's just a matter of getting to know that each and every one of us, regardless of what uniform we wear, are people.
Wow.
And getting those conversations and getting those deputies and law enforcement officers, even in the municipal police departments, out into those community conversations, I think that it would be wildly beneficial.
Yeah, I'm curious, and we were going to get into that kind of like further as we went, but you brought it up as far as ICE. What what do you feel is the sheriff's department responsibility, and what commitment can you give and keep when it comes to the citizens of Thurston County?
Well, I think kind of what I touched on before was, and the conversation I've had in the community is, you're not going to see a standoff between the local and federal government. It's not healthy, and shootouts in the street and things like that. This is not, it's not a reality. So, and neither is violating state and local law by having unlawful contact or cooperation in the enforcement of federal immigration laws, which local law enforcement is, one, not responsible for, and two, not authorized to effect. So going to either extreme in any commitment or statement, I think is purely just grandstanding. So I think there has to be realistic responses to that, such as what I was saying before, where we have folks that show up with uniforms on that may or may not be easily identified. And so if a community member requests a response from local law enforcement to identify that individual, it's an obligation of local law enforcement, and in our case, our sheriff's deputies, to respond to that location and verify the identity of that proposed or that purported federal agent, right? Should be as simple as, hey, who are you guys? What agency are you with? Let's see some credentials, good to go. If they're clearly marked, we make those introductions, those cooperate, those understanding of those things. And then you go for lawful authority. The same thing we would do with anybody, whether it would be a neighboring local law enforcement agency, an entity from outside to another state, things like that. We say, well, what's your lawful authority for being here? You have a search warrant, you have, an arrest warrant, something like that, signed by a judge. And then we go to if you don't have those things, well, what are we doing here? Are we in violation of state, local, or federal law in regards to you're on private property and you're trespassing, you don't have search warrant, you don't have this, you don't have the lawful authority to do those things. And I believe in kind of like a harm reduction strategy. And I've learned that through my time in the military. I was a SHARP representative and victim advocate for the Sexual Harassment Assault Response Prevention Program whilst in the Army. And in the military, I jumped at the military, in the sheriff's office, I jumped at the opportunity to be an active bystandership for law enforcement instructor when it came out. So it's a program developed by Georgetown Law, and essentially it's a harm reduction thing. It's not teaching people how to snitch. It's not teaching people, how to do those things. What it is it's how to get ahead of behaviors, and it's implemented in the medical field, the aviation field. It's kind of like the Green Dot program that was instituted in colleges and campuses to reduce instances of sexual assault and violence. It's if you start seeing these troubling behaviors, oftentimes there's a buildup, and to the point of a catalyst where a tragedy occurs, and you can interject or interrupt that harmful behavior and get it kind of walked back from the precipice and solve the actual problem at hand, instead of it going and having the tragedies like we saw in Minnesota. So specifically, the deputies, once they identified, okay, well, if you have a lawful authority to be here, we just want you to know we are remaining on scene until you complete. Our body cameras are going to continue to roll. We're likely going to document the situation that occurred here in a report so that it is on the record and things like that. And that's how we can ensure that the members of our community remain safe in their interactions with all entities, whether that be ICE, other federal partners, other local law enforcement agencies. I think cross-jurisdictional cooperation is important for criminal investigations. And again, that's not ICE, civil detainers. That's not what I'm talking about. But if one of our neighboring counties has a search warrant or an arrest warrant for someone, we have cross commissions, and we have oftentimes the right way to do it is to notify the local jurisdiction and let them know that you're coming and do things like that. So long answer, but I think it takes that, to ensure that the community members remain safe and can trust all law enforcement.
So what I'm hearing you say is that you won't, there won't be a standoff. However, you are there to make sure that the law is being followed and the citizens are being respected as far as the law requires them to be.
Yes, and the Constitution. That's the biggest thing, to make sure that people's constitutional rights are are protected. And if we can get ahead of it, like I said, through a harm reduction model, and if not, we're there to document and to provide data and information should there have to be a remedy in a different way, through civil lawsuits, things like that down the road.
Thank you for answering that. I know it's not an easy subject. I know it's not an easy subject because people can get really fiery about this, as they should. I mean, it's one of those hot button topics. But as a resident of Thurston County, I'll tell you this. Hearing you say that makes me feel good. I've talked to your opponent, as you know too. I had him on the show, and he said the same thing. So I think that the residents of Thurston County really have something special when it comes to leadership, and I think that is one of the things that kind of is the same with you too. That's one thing I noticed was that answer. Unless I'm getting something wrong, that's right.
No,
right?
I think that there's a lot of similarities in our response to the specific eyes topic. I don't think you're going to see a huge juxtaposition like you would in some of the sheriffs from the other states, or even from some of the far more conservative counties in regards to statements about deputizing citizens to enforce immigration law and things like that. I don't think either one of us believe that is an answer, nor that that's within the powers bestowed upon the office.
I appreciate hearing that. Deputizing citizens. I got nervous when you said that, man. Let's talk a little bit about leadership. I think we've been talking about it a little bit, but I'm curious. I'm sure this is a big thing. Not just for the folks like me. There would be kind of like your constituents on the outside, but the folks on the inside that have to make a vote too. That you'll be working for. When it comes to leadership, can you tell me about a difficult decision that you've made where there wasn't a clear right answer, where you're just like, oh, what do I do? Okay, I'm gonna go that way.
Yeah, so I'm going to throw back to the military a little bit. I had a soldier who had a real hard time, was getting into some trouble, had some excessive consumption of alcohol, had a driving under the influence charge and things like that. But at the same time, ended up being a victim of sexual assault. And I was a young leader. I realized that I had to both support, but also have stability in what is healthy behaviors, and how to help that individual attempt to find some healthy coping mechanisms with the trauma and the tragedy that had occurred. And this was early on in the Army's shift to victim-centered interviews and things like that. And so whilst I ended up, holding that soldier accountable for the alcohol-related issues, when the soldier asked me to accompany them to their interview with the investigators and things like that, to act as an advocate, I was able to do that as well. And so it taught me a very good lesson, but it also taught me a difficult one, I think, is that it's not a zero-sum game. You can hold people accountable. You can uphold standards and have stability, but still have compassion and still be there to help them through the human side of things that happen to them. So it was very impactful on me, and it was a situation that I had not necessarily been presented with before, and just the gravity of those types of situations. I mean, an alcohol-related incident in the military can destroy your career.
Oh yeah.
But then the tragedy of something so traumatic as a sexual assault, and how do you navigate those types of things? And so I think that was a unique experience in my leadership journey. So.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. Just talking about that stuff can be hard, so I can't imagine having to, do what you did and have to act and have to support, have to make sure that everything is happening the way that it should be, but still given, that person the care that they deserve. So thank you for answering that. Is there a position or something that you've had and you're like, man, this is how I feel about this, but then there was like somebody or an incident that changed your mind or changed your position? Can you think of anything to where you're like, oh man, I was wrong about that?
Yeah. I mean, I'll be the first to admit that I think the one thing that I'm only 100% sure that I do know is that I don't know everything. And so I'll be the first to admit that I've been wrong several times. And the thing that I really enjoy is being able to have the conversation. I'm open to being brought around to any perspective and any opinion. And I think that that's the healthiest part of it all. Trying to think of an exact example, because it really happens all the time, and especially in the current profession, because we learn from peers, we learn from leaders, and through those conversational things. I think in law enforcement, the best example that I can give that I learned when I was on patrol is, we would talk about the things that we had in a specific case. You get to a house and you go, okay, well, I think I have X, Y, and Z. I have, the husband's intoxicated, the wife is crying. This is the allegation I have, and this is the enforcement action I want to take. And the guy or gal that you're talking to, your partner, looks at you and kind of gives you that cockeyed look, like, you are not the smartest person here, are you? And you're trying to figure out what you're missing. And they go, well, did you look at the fact, did you clock that camera up in the corner of the room, or how the story's changed a little bit? And I think that that's what's important in our in this field is that you need that sounding board. 4 eyes are better than two heads are better than one kind of deal. And the conversations and the things that can come along with a critique, not a criticism, I think, and being able to grow from those experiences is awesome. And there's been plenty of times where I know I've fouled something all up, and the one thing I've learned throughout my career in the military and this profession is, go hat in hand and say, hey, I messed this up, but I genuinely want to fix it because my intent was always pure. So.
No, I love that. How would you define your leadership? And I think I kind of already know because of the type of books that you said that you're reading, but I want to see if I'm right.
Well, my leadership style is more, and it's going to sound, some people might consider it cliche, something like that, but it's the way I was raised in my professional life, and more so kind of servant leadership, where I'm going to do my best to make sure that the people that I work with are taken care of so that they can take care of the job that they have in front of them. And what I mean by taking care of it took me a long time to understand that. Taking care of doesn't mean that I'm here to do everything for you. I'm here to make you the happiest or the least worked person ever. It's to take care of you and understand that, if you have questions about your payroll, we're going to get it fixed. If you have family issues that are going on that are distracting you, that I genuinely care. I want to know how your baby's doing. I want you to know that you can bring your family to the agency and have them feel like they're part of the family and that we genuinely care about you. And the idea that there is standards, that if you do the work, that you put your heart and soul into this, whatever the project may be, that you will reap the rewards. And if that's simply just the successful outcome of a situation, that you get the accolades that come along with that, but also that that your peers are held to those same standards, and so that you're not feeling overworked and you're not having to do all of those things. And again, that goes back to the systems and processes concepts that we talked about before. I think it's critical that, especially in a government institution, it's not like a private corporation where we have to meet sales deadlines and we have to brand ourselves and we have to get clientele and really sell ourselves. We're a government entity that lays, a tax base, and we provide a service. We are service providers first. And I think that it's critical that those foundational institutions and the processes and systems such as policies, procedures, the stability that the individual employee can know that what a merit-based promotion is based not on subjectivity, but an objective process that then is enshrined, in a written commitment from the leadership of the organization. And so that is what I mean by taking care of an individual, a member of the organization, so that they can then have that capacity. If you've got the top of the pyramid, the leader taking care of what they're supposed to be doing, the two below him or her can take care of it. The ones before him or her at those levels can then now 4 and then 6 and 8 and on and on and on until you get down to the 70 or 80 folks on the road at any given moment. And those people have the exponential capacity to really get out there and do ultimately community policing and bring, solve problems that are out there in the community, knowing that the institution is taken care of and the institution has their back.
If you're elected, what can the public expect from you as far as like your leadership style? What would we see? Would there be any difference, or would it kind of be the same as it is now? And that's the public, and that's also the people that'll be working for you inside of the sheriff's department.
Absolutely. Well, I think that the major difference that I look at it is that I'm an institution over individual person. And what I mean by that, and I'm not saying anybody else is not, I'm just saying what I mean by that is I think that you really have to have the sheriff's office be the star of the show. And again, and that's just the longevity of the agency, right? That's so that it can outlive any individual. Because I'll be honest with you, I work at the sheriff's office. I don't remember who the third sheriff of the Thurston County Sheriff's Office was. And to be honest with you, I don't know that anybody does other than the historian or when we go through the processes of looking that up. But the institution and the fact that the community has the ability to look at it and rely on it is critically important. And the way that I would propose to do that is a commitment to what I call kind of a trust but verify method, or a provable transparency, where it's not just an elected official or a public information officer out telling people information. It's verifiable data that's published and released on a routine basis. It's using processes that have existed in Washington State since 1976, the accreditation process through WASPIC. It's 50 years. We don't attend unaccredited schools. We wouldn't go to an unaccredited medical facility. Why would a citizen or a resident or a community member in this county accept law enforcement services that don't come from an accredited institution? So again, and publishing that
issue now that's an issue. That's an issue right now with our legislation, right?
So right now, there's been some different laws that have been passed over the years encouraging WASPIC accreditation. WASPIC is the Washington Association of Sheriffs and Police Chiefs, and they've established an accreditation body, like I said, in 1976. And they've established standards based on state law, industry best practice, things like that. And they have an external auditor that comes into your agency and validates that you're doing what you say you're doing. It's 149 different points, and they don't just take you at your word. They look at your paperwork. They do ride-alongs. They do interviews. They talk to the community. And you have to go through this process repeatedly over it's a 4-year rotational accreditation, and you have to reaccreditate, showing that you're consistently doing that. That's a hard performance-based metric that the community can point to, saying that, yes, I have placed my trust in this institution and I can verify that they're doing what they say they're doing. I also believe in robust, program reviews and annual reports. There should be things that show the community at least an annual basis that the programs that the agency is using have a direct public safety impact, and that the community can see what they do. That not only brings the community members into what the agency is doing, but kind of explains the different processes and shows that, deputies aren't just out there chasing cars and making arrests, but they're, they caught the wild horse that was running around, or the escaped pony, or they've handled X number of sexual assault cases, and been able to, bring trauma-informed and victim-centered interviewing, and, we've been able to link in or divert people from the criminal justice system into treatment. Like, those things should be the information that's being reported, not just a highlight reel. So again, it kind of goes back to that communication strategy as well, which I believe that there's long form, such as like the interview we're doing today, social media, newspaper, news, press releases, things like that, coming from the sheriff's office itself can communicate in a method of true public safety communication, that the public can learn about the sheriff's office, learn about public safety, things like, hey, you should sign up for Smart 911. It's a safe way for the dispatchers, when you call 911, to have a bunch of information that's stored on a secure server about you, your house, your family, your dog, so that when first responders come to your house and you can't communicate because maybe you're having a stroke, that they know that, the gate code is this, and we should be looking for, your wife if there's a fire because it's you and her in the house, or your wife and daughter, or in the event that there's a burglary at your home. We know that information because it's readily available to that 911 dispatcher. Thurston County participates in Smart 911, but it's not a widely broadcast. It's not, and that's a true public safety communication. It's telling our community members that that's something that can help them improve their first responder response.
Wow, that's interesting. Because I know when I wrote Fire Truck, the way that I knew that kind of stuff, like, such and such that person is a diabetic, that person has seizures, they have a kid that might be autistic. I knew that from just going over and over and over again, and maybe screwing it up the first couple of times because I didn't know. But I didn't know that we had that program here in Thurston County. So what I'm hearing you say is that you and let me know if I get this wrong, because I don't want to get it wrong or put words in your mouth. It sounds like that you're kind of going to be that communicator. This is what we have. This is what we can do for you, and this is what we're doing for you.
Absolutely, and again, in ways that it would invite even those that are skeptical to come in and look at the data and back it, with that data so that it can be verified, and to invite you into programs. There's several agencies that do citizen advisory boards. I've been advocating that we should stand that up, since day one. There's nothing wrong with inviting people in, and advisory is exactly that. It's advice. It's hearing from the community, more than just once a year. It's a way that the community can really tell you that this is the way they want to be policed. I think that there's a misunderstanding and maybe a misperception on what oversight versus advisory could be, and you give people a voice. A lot of times you can get to a point where you don't have to have oversight because you have someone that can already validate the data. You have it out there. It's all published and it's all available. So yeah, just things like that, where again, building the systems, building the processes so that, whether it be 10 days in or 10 years in, to anyone being in that position, they can take the sheriff's office forward and make it consistently get better and better and better in regards to its ability to provide services to the community.
I love it. Tell me though, we're going to still be able to see a little bit more action, right?
Oh, I don't think that there's a problem. And I know that a lot of times folks love to see the car chases. They love to see things like that.
I'm all about the dramatics. I'm like, yeah, oh my God, get him.
I think that that's still something. And I think if you look to some of these larger agencies around the country that have been embroiled in DOJ mandated oversight, or they've been in, you look at Seattle, Los Angeles, some of the large agencies that have already gone through some of the growing pains that we have. And you look at the critical incident reviews and the releases that they do, and they provide it as an educational opportunity. They're providing information to the public in a way that gives them not just a clip, not just raw body camera footage, because it's been shown scientifically that raw body camera footage doesn't show all perspectives. It doesn't give a lot of people context, right? And so by providing that context, by having people understand the limitations of equipment, the limitations of a human being, and what's still left to be done with an investigation, I think that you can give people a lot clearer understanding, and that counts to me as a lot more transparency than just a clip itself. And I think that specifically, I have a 19-year-old son, so I like to point out that just because I'm an old man now doesn't mean that I didn't enjoy a lot of that stuff back then. Or you put me in a patrol car, it doesn't say that I don't enjoy chasing the bad guy now. But the idea that police pursuits happen is a real thing, right? Just like, a lot of techniques and tactics in law enforcement. But I think it needs to be couched in the idea that they are a necessary, but also controversial and extremely dangerous tool that law enforcement trains for and undertakes, with seriousness, so that it's not portrayed as a or misportrayed, even, because it could be taken as that may not be the intent of what that sharing of that information is for, but it can be seen as celebrating the behavior, which then, unwittingly creates kind of a feedback loop within an organization and within a specific part of the community. We see a lot of these Facebook, Facebook, but YouTube channels and things like that have really fed on the American population's craving for that fast-paced police chase and things like that. But I don't think that that's necessarily the job of a government institution, is to entertain. I think it is to inform, to educate, and to ensure that, like I said, the data that comes along with those things. Sure, we caught a person who was making a bad decision. What does that mean for public safety? What does it mean for the community? What is the cost, in some of those situations? And I think that the context that comes along with any form of communication is critically important.
No, that makes sense. So it sounds like education, not entertainment. That's what that sounds like with you. Okay. And it sounds like that's a decision that you made. And let's get to some decision making questions really quick.
Okay.
What issue? Oh, go ahead. You're about to say something?
No, I was saying, okay, I'm with you.
What is as far as decision making, what is an issue that you're willing to compromise? And what is the issue that you simply are not willing to compromise when it comes to you being the Thurston County Sheriff?
Wow. So I think issues that I'm willing to compromise are some of the things that people take for granted sometimes. One thing is, that you have a policy that's only 2 deputies can eat a meal together at any one given time. Is that a hard line? Like some of those, and I'm going to call them quality of life policies or procedures or decisions. And I think that those types of things are where compromise absolutely belongs. I think that you bring all parties to the table, and you find out how to come to a solution that best fits everyone and still accomplishes the outcome that's desired. I think that the things that I am unwavering on and can't compromise on are the idea that we don't build, again, the institution beyond today. I've grown up in as we've talked about in this the greater overarching institutions of the military, which is a monolith, and you have local government, which I don't think operates independently. The sheriff's office doesn't operate independently of the rest of the county government. It's together. We're all a team to serve the citizens of Thurston County, the residents of Thurston County. And I don't think I am willing to compromise on siloing law enforcement away from them. I don't think I'm willing to compromise on not producing verifiable information for the public. I don't think I'm willing to compromise on hiring standards, on training requirements. I think that it's critically important to stay up to date and ensure that we give our deputies and employees the most up-to-date training and the initial training. It's critically important, and that we are willing to do it with the amount of time that's necessary. We have near peer countries in Europe that teach their law enforcement officers for years. You come out of a police academy in Ireland or in Germany with a college degree and the ability to go out and understand and comprehend the law. Here in the United States, it's Washington is considered a premier state in initial entry training at 4 months. However, every law enforcement professional and leader in the state of Washington has acknowledged that that's not enough to train someone and to put them out on the road as a law enforcement officer. So it's really that initial entry training that's required, and I think that that's critically important.
Fair enough. Kevin, let's do some imagination, if you would, with me.
Okay.
Me and you, we're sitting here and we're talking. We're on the record, and what is one hope that you have, or like, what would you hope that you've accomplished that residents can point to and say, you know what, that doggone Kevin kept his word? What would that one thing be that you're just like, this is the way that it's going to be?
Well, if given the opportunity and elected to the position, the legacy that I would like to leave is that the sheriff's office has the ability to be pointed to as a premier organization throughout the state of Washington for its ability to show its work. Essentially, it kind of takes you back to that third grade arithmetic. Sure, you got the answer, but how'd you get there? And that is what I believe transparency really is. That's how you build trust in communities that aren't inherently trusting of law enforcement. And that's how you keep the trust of those that willingly give it up front because of the symbols of the institution. I think we really have to start putting in place things that are going to impact the community 10 years down the road.
That's fair. What do you think is the biggest challenge that's facing the sheriff's office today, like right now as we speak?
I think there's a multitude of challenges within the sheriff's office right now. I think that the incomplete jail is one of the most significant that impacts both the community members as well as the staff that have to work in the facility. It also impacts the ability to humanely house folks that are entering the criminal justice system. And I think that that's a conversation that goes beyond just the concept of increasing carceral capacity, because it's not about increasing carceral capacity necessarily, as opposed to ensuring the humane housing of those that have to be temporarily removed from society because they've made a decision, right? And that's the part of the system, introduction into our system, so that they can go through the process in a humane way. And again, that's an infrastructure issue, which comes along with a pretty significant price tag. And so I think some of the spending decisions and the lack of budget transparency is where citizens should be asking questions. Community members should be asking questions about where that money and the decisions to spend some of the money the way that it has been. And then, as with all law enforcement across the nation, I think recruiting and retention is also a huge problem. We consistently have, as I'm sure you're aware, at times can be a thankless job. People don't like being written speeding tickets or being taken to jail, or being some members of the community don't like seeing the police at all based on negative interactions before or perceptions. And so I think that there's things that can be implemented. I've mentioned this in different settings before, where programs that have been proven to work, like the 30 by 30 pledge, which is a profession-wide commitment to that you sign up for, that an agency does, and it commits to getting 30% of an agency's employment population to be women, essentially by 2030. Now we're behind the power curve on that, but it comes along with social science-backed recruiting techniques and meeting people where they are. It's not always as easy as showing people all of the exciting things about running and gunning. Sometimes you have to go to the community colleges, and you have to go to down into the farmers market even, and say, you know what, you might be a downtown Olympia, and I'm an evergreener. You might be an evergreener, and
I am.
you might, and you might have a place in law enforcement. You know what I'm saying? It's people need to be able to see that, see themselves in law enforcement, and that's not just the traditional ways. We can cross bridge those gaps that exist in our society, whether it be marginalized communities, whether it be folks that again have traditionally seen law enforcement as a tool of oppression, as opposed to the protector of the constitutional rights of every member of our community. So I think those are unique things that need to be done to overcome some of the problems that we face as well. And the list goes on, obviously, or I wouldn't be interested in running for this office. I think that there's a lot of things in an overarching vision that can continue to move the sheriff's office forward. I think at the moment that we believe we've achieved excellence, or that we become stagnant, I think that becomes a problem. And I think there's institutional motivators that can be implemented, such as accreditation, such as reporting, such as bringing in people from different members of the community to say, how about that? Or you need to do this. I think keeps you on that forward trajectory.
Yeah. I'm curious, what happens if you lose this race? What does that do? Do you go someplace else to try to get elected, or do you make your lunch and go to work the next day? How does that work?
So maybe my wife will let me spoil myself that day and buy my lunch as a consolation prize, but it'll definitely be heading back into work the next day, and every day, for the next 15 plus years, and serving the citizens and the community of Thurston County. As I talked about in the beginning of our conversation, I don't want to be a cop bad enough to go be a cop anywhere else. I think it's a service that our community has requested and needs, and I think that there's so much that we can do. I kind of equated it the other day in a conversation I had as oftentimes, whilst law enforcement are not necessarily trained social workers, sometimes we're that last mile responder. We may be the only ones that are in the living room of that hungry child, or that forgotten elder, or that veteran that hasn't been linked in with services. And we need to know those things, because we can link those people in. We can be that last mile service provider. And I think that that's what I just have a calling to continue to do. And I'll say this as well. I learned early on, if it's an ethical, legal, and moral order, I'll follow it. I spent 20 years in the military under leadership that we didn't always understand each other. We weren't drinking beers together. We weren't doing those things, but we understood a common goal and a common drive for service. And I would say that would be the same thing here, in that I would support the leadership of of those appointed and elected over me. I have no problems with that. We take that oath, and I've taken that oath seriously since I was a child, essentially at 17 years old.
Is it weird? And I have to know this. It's killing me, and I'm dying to know. Is it weird, like essentially running against your boss?
So weird is an interesting thing. I think, and this conversation comes up at people's doors as well quite often. So I'm glad that you asked that. I don't think it's weird for me, because I don't think it's a personal thing. I think it can transcend that. In no way, shape, or form do I believe that my opponent is malicious. Do I believe that he has any ill intent for the sheriff's office, for the community, for the members of the agency? We have different visions. And I think that's okay. And in our nation and in a democracy and in a community that thrives on conversation, even if I lose and I go back to work the next day, and all that happened was we started a conversation about how to improve the institution for the community and for the employees, then I consider that a win.
Wow, sounds like you're down for Thurston County, no matter what. And on that note, is there and I'm hopping around a bit because there's some stuff that I didn't ask you earlier. Is there a community that you feel like doesn't get enough attention on?
Do I feel like there's a community that there? So I think that there's different segments of the community that are kind of neglected, and likely not intentionally, but just because the lack of programming. And I think it can touch a little bit of all segments of our community. I mean, whether you go, I was talking to somebody yesterday about aging in Washington and how difficult it is, and the experiences I've had as a law enforcement officer responding to some of the elders in our community entering into, memory care situations where they are calling in to report being thrown downstairs, and you get there and there's no stairs in the house, and or they don't have the next meal. I think that there's the population that's been historically repressed by law enforcement. I talk to minority communities as well as labor organizations and civil rights activists and environmental activists and activists of all stripes have routinely felt oppressed by law enforcement, as opposed to seeing law enforcement as something that's going to uphold their constitutional rights to peacefully protest or to get into that good trouble. So I think that has to change, and I'm not saying that law enforcement today is a tool of oppression. I think we've come a long way, and especially law enforcement in the Pacific Northwest. But we still owe it to those marginalized communities to have that communication, to continue to build that trust, and to go out there. And so I think that again, the long answer, sorry, but to shorten it up a little bit, there's a multitude of neglected communities and programs out there that can be implemented to step that up. We can do intentional and deliberate communications with the elder community through fraud abatement, and there's a great program that the National Sheriff's Association has, which is seniors and law enforcement together, and Clark County has a version of it, and they put on seminars that teach the elders of the community on how to kind of combat some of those abuses, either financial, things like that. The citizen academies that I was telling you about early on in the conversation, you bring folks in from different communities and cultures within our community, and not only does it teach them what law enforcement is trained to do, been seeing them historically, it also teaches law enforcement how communities see law enforcement. And I think that the conversation has to be two ways as well.
Oh, I love it. Thanks. Yeah, thank you for explaining that. I'm curious, can you tell me about a time in your life where you, Kevin, fought for somebody that could not fight for themselves?
So we talked a little bit about some of my experiences in the military. I always find myself, I got into being a unit prevention leader, and I saw the Army transition from a time of we're going to catch you using illicit substances to we're going to try to prevent the situation by understanding that military service can be quite traumatic. We're going to identify it, and then we're going to hook you up with treatment resources. And so that transition that I had while the military was doing that, along with the transition to watch the military shift from with the sexual harassment victim advocate stuff that I did and sexual assault victim advocate work that I did, to see the military transition from this you are causing a problem and we get rid of you to there's a problem and we may have caused it, let's work on it and solve some of those issues, I think really spurred my my desire and my efforts to kind of to work on cases that now, and even in law enforcement, of people that their voices may not be heard. I do a lot of animal cruelty investigations. I'm huge on kind of the idea of the voiceless, right? And the idea that we should be really paying attention to those that are the most vulnerable. So I know that it wasn't just one situation, but I think that it's because there's so much that I've experienced just in the years of doing different things that I try to bring to the table and bring to my understanding and comprehension of the processes and the places that we find ourselves.
I love it. Looking back at your career, is there a decision you wish you would have did differently?
I find that it's a good question on multitude of different levels. And one is because I was a young parent. And so you also get those questions of, well, do you wish you would have waited? Do you wish you would have done? And so my daughter, my first child, was born. I don't think I was 21 yet. Doing the math, I have to get my fingers and my toes out on that one. But I started that early, and people have asked, well, would you do something different? Well, my fear is that if I did something different, I wouldn't have the perspective, and I wouldn't be where I am today. With that being said, and I've mentioned it before, I know I don't know everything, and I've made my backpack's full of mistakes that I've made in life, and I think we have to learn from each and every one of them.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things, when you deal with. I mean, you remember the military. You deal with so many folks, and even in the interactions that you have today, and you go, man, is there something more I could have done? You look back on, and but yeah.
No, definitely. No, that makes sense. I'm curious, is there any question where, like, when you're like getting ready this morning, you're like, man, I hope Tony asks me this because I've been dying to talk about that. Is there any question that I've asked you, that I haven't asked you that you want to answer?
Oh man. Yeah, I guess maybe a conversation about my understanding of qualifications for things and kind of the some of the stuff that I kind of bring to the table of a unique understanding, and that may position me a little bit better for the role. And that would be, I've said over and over again, I don't know everything. It's the one constant, but I keep trying to learn. And before I got out of the military, I did obtain a master's degree in criminal justice from Troy University, simultaneously with retiring from the military, taking our comp exams, and then getting hired with the sheriff's office. And then I went back to school there at Evergreen and got that MPA, which is an amazing program. I'm not getting paid by Evergreen, so the plug that, it's not a paid endorsement, but I think it's an awesome program everybody should check out. And then just the work that I've done with getting involved in different community organizations, and being involved in the union, I think is huge. Understanding police administration from the labor side, and knowing that I want to continue to learn and understand all of that as well, because I think, again, it goes back to being able to take care of people who can then in turn take care of the community. Yeah, and just the idea that I think that the positions of authority and power, appointed, elected, whatever they are, should really be there purely as service to the institution and to the community, and should be held to a lot of the same standards, if not the exact same standards, that the folks on the ground doing the work are. So.
Yeah. What do you think? Thank you for answering that. And I appreciate you pointing that out, because that's a good question, man. And a damn good answer too. What do you think about this whole elected appointed sheriff debate that we have going on here in Washington State?
So I think that it's a two-part debate. One is the elected appointed concept that comes along with a charter. And it's not an automatic thing. If a county decides to go to a home rule charter, obviously they can then vote on appointing a sheriff or keeping an elected sheriff. And if we've seen our two neighbors to the north are the most recent examples of that. I believe there's approximately five home rule counties in the state of Washington. And our two neighbors to the north have gone back and forth between elected and appointed sheriffs over the years, since back in the 80s even. So I think I would applaud them for finding out what works best for them. As I said, they've gone back and forth. I don't think that I, as one individual, can prescribe what should happen for a community of, in our neighbors to one county to the north, 1 million plus people, or even further north, twice that. And in Thurston County of 305,000 citizens, I don't know that I would, as one individual, should prescribe or could prescribe whether you should have an appointed or an elected sheriff. We don't have the ability to have an appointed sheriff in Thurston County right now because we don't have a home rule charter. And so we have the elected sheriff role. And I think that we should embrace that. I think that we should look to an individual who has the comes with the most qualifications, has the ability to do what they say, and can show that they're going to deliver on the commitments that they make. And then I think that there's a secondary part to that conversation that comes back to a recent bill that was passed last year that's commonly known as the Sheriff's Bill, which set some minimum qualifications for elected and appointed police leadership, but it also set some decertification standards for elected and appointed leadership that made the requirements mirror that of every other law enforcement officer employed in the state of Washington. So if a patrol deputy, patrol officer, lieutenant, sergeant, captain, any of those individuals who hold a certification from the Criminal Justice Training Commission does something and becomes decertified by the decertification panel, which is made up of a multitude of different people, including police chiefs, sheriffs, sitting sheriffs, patrol officers, there's some attorneys, some citizen members. If they are decertified, that they would lose their job essentially. So that's what happens with the line folks and the folks doing the job right now. Prior to the bill being passed, elected law enforcement leaders, sheriffs, and appointed law enforcement leaders, police chiefs, were not held to that same standard. So if they did something to lose their certification, just like their employees or subordinate law enforcement officers, they could retain their position as a police administrator, as a leader of law enforcement, even though they didn't hold the required state certification. So that bill changed that. And I've been accused by my opponent as being the only person that supports the concept of police leadership being held to the same standard as their subordinates. And I accept that. I accept that accusation. If I am, I wish more that either sought leadership or were in leadership, were willing to work through the process of ensuring appropriate safeguards are in place so that it doesn't become an abused process, but that process should apply evenly across all ranks and levels of law enforcement, from the brand new deputy all the way up to the elected sheriff.
Yeah. No, beautiful answer. And I'll tell you a little bit kind of how I think about that. Initially I was like, oh man, like what, why are they doing that? If we elected our sheriff, like we should be able to keep our sheriff. But then I started looking at some things happen nationally and happening kind of like in this area. And I'm just like, oh, wow, there needs to be guardrails put on that. And that was kind of like, that was my thinking. There needs to be some kind of guardrails because, at this point, a sheriff can do or say anything. This is me talking as a civilian because I don't know. Because what I'm seeing is a sheriff can do or say anything, and there's no recourse. And me as a citizen that knows 1% of everything that you just said, I'm just like, dang, man, we need to have some kind of way to change this. If things change, if somebody misrepresents himself and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, nope, this is the real me, man. Sorry. Am I getting that right? Is that kind of what you're saying a little bit?
Absolutely. And I think there's some direct correlations to things that already exist. So the original feeling is, and it's being purported as a taking away the voter's choice. You still get to elect your sheriff. You still get to do those things. The only issue becomes if they do something to lose their certification, then they would lose their job. Now it's currently on hold. There is an injunction. Thurston County Superior Court issued an injunction, and it's going to go through the process because there was a lawsuit filed. But I think that the conversation shouldn't die with the injunction. I think that we should still talk about the clear connections to other professions. So members of the judicial bench, if they lose their law license, they lose their seat on the bench. You have to be a barred attorney to be a judge in the state of Washington. So a panel can remove an elected official, essentially, in a judge. So it exists in other places, and in other professions, not just in the elected, but a doctor loses their medical license. They can't practice law, or you can't practice medicine anymore. And we're by far the first state. It was kind of pointed out as some wild leftist conspiracy situation because Washington purports to be extremely progressive. However, South Carolina, Georgia, some of the most conservative states in the nation already have laws on their books that serve to remove decertified sheriffs or appointed police chiefs should they lose their certification. Now, don't get me wrong, no legislation is perfect. I don't think that this legislation is a silver bullet that's going to solve any sort of problem, and that there's not the appropriate safeguards in place to prevent the weaponization of the certification board. If someone was to want to be so nefarious or to act, with such malice. I haven't seen it happen yet. I've seen the certification board review quite a few certifications, and not a lot of people are being decertified because they're looking into every situation, and not everything reaches that decertification level. I would welcome a kind of a third rail guardrail situation in the judiciary that would allow for all law enforcement, not just elected and appointed, to appeal that to their local superior court, that decision that's made by the certification board. And I think that legislation can be crafted in a way that provides, the legislature passed the law, the governor puts it into place and appoints that panel, and the judiciary can be the checks and balances on that, as the government was designed to do. So I think that there's a way to get to that fairness and the honest accountability. But I don't think it's as simple as saying that the law shouldn't exist, or the applicability of standards across all levels.
I see what you're saying. Kind of what I just got from that, and let me know if I'm wrong. The fact that it's not, this is what I got. The fact that it's not taking away voters' rights. They still will be able to vote for or vote and elect their sheriff, but there are some guardrails put into place that can, if things go awry, that they could kind of like pull back and like get somebody else, and or if they lose their certification as a sheriff, then they can't be the sheriff, or they're, did I get that right?
The certification part, yes. So
Okay.
the recall and things like that would still exist. The recall process is extremely difficult in the state of Washington, and can be challenged through the legal process as well. But no, if they lost their certification, then they would lose their job, essentially, just like any line level law enforcement officer. And what I'm saying is that I agree with some of the sitting sheriffs and some of the folks that criticize the bill, is that it's not perfect. It could have some additional legislation tacked onto it that would allow for some safety net things should the Criminal Justice Training Commission start performing with ill intent. But again, that's a safety net to prevent any abuses of power in that place. But I still believe that we need to push forward with accountability that's equal across all levels.
Awesome. Thank you for clearing that up for me, man. One thing that I gander, and I don't want to make any kind of assumptions. The listeners and viewers, the folks that are listening and watching this, is I really feel like from interviewing the incumbent Sheriff Derek Sanders and interviewing Kevin Burton-Crow, is that no matter what happens, I feel like we're we're in good hands. And, what I'm observing is there's a different style of leadership, but there's no good and no evil here. Did I get that right?
Correct. I would never assign, that label. I don't think it's not. There's no nefarious intent. I don't believe on either side. Again, I think that there's importance in updated policies and procedures and provable transparency. And he has a different flavor of things. So I think that either way, the county will continue. I know, and I'll say this as a peer to those within the organization, as well as a member of this community that receives services from the sheriff's office. The employees and the career civil servants that are at the sheriff's office are truly the ones that keep it going and keep things. Keep the ship sailing in the right direction and keep services going to the community on a daily basis. And I think that can be said for, government institutions across the state, in that those lifelong civil servants are there doing the work. It's just a matter of the direction and the approach of the leadership that I think can really change and professionalize an institution. Yeah. So.
Thank you. Great answer. Before we wrap up, this is the last question, and I'm gonna bring just you up on the camera, and I want you to pretend again with me. I'm all about. You can tell I watch a lot of imagination kids shows, right?
Yeah.
But pretend with me if I'm the voter and I got my cell phone on, and I happen to be watching Leaders Lead, the podcast, the On the Record series, and I'm like, let me check these dudes out. And I'm at the last part of the episode, and what would be that one thing that you can tell me as the voter to vote for you once they get inside? This is the last time that they'll be able to see you before they cast their ballot.
Awesome. Well, what I'd like to leave you with, the last thing before you cast your ballot, is that I bring a lifetime of service, 20 years in the military, multiple master's degrees. So I bring some level of academia as well to the office. So as far as qualifications go, I'm definitely there, and just a heart for service. I think that I'll continue regardless of the outcome, but I also want to offer something which is the trust but verify method. And I'm not asking you to inherently trust me, but give me the opportunity to earn your trust and to provide you with that verifiable data that shows that I've fulfilled the commitments. So 2 years in, you should be seeing responsive data that shows the accreditation process is nearing completion, showing you annual reports at the end of year one where the money's being spent, where we've been able to save costs, and where we've been able to improve employee and community outcomes. And ultimately, I'll still be your neighbor, if not your next door neighbor. And I hopefully can earn your trust, and we can work together to solve community problems. Thank you.
Ooh, that was great. If you enjoyed this podcast, well, I'm sure you enjoyed it. If you're still here with us, what I want you to do is head over to your favorite podcast and streaming network and give us a download, subscribe to the channel, and also let us know what you think about the show. And from the bottom of my heart, I want to say thank you for the things that you've done. Thank you for the things that you're doing. And especially thank you for the things that you're going to do, because I know that you're going to do something amazing.